Islam. Peace, peace. What's good?
Good, everything's good.
For real.
Sunday.
Yeah, for real, for real. Let me just get this thing set up here. Hold on one sec. One sec, Mark. Yes, Islam. How's the family?
Great.
I hear that.
Everyone's out. Everyone's free from kidnapping. So
For real, for real. That's the good part.
yes.
That's the good part. Yeah, yo. So first of all, we rise and we give honors to the Prophet Noble Ali, honors to Allah, honors to all the active, honors to all the active Moors, honors to all L's and B's, and middle finger to all the dirty Moors. Islam. All right. First thing, the issue of warrants, and them issuing warrants. Majority of the time, when they do that, it's because of them taking a position called ex parte on the case, right? So ex parte, on one side only, by or for one party, done for, in behalf of, or on the application of one party only. A judicial proceeding, order, injunction, etc. is said to be ex parte when it is taken or granted at the instance and for the benefit of one party only, and without notice to or contestation by any person adversely interested. In its primary sense, ex parte, as applied to an application in a judicial proceeding, means that it is made by a person who is not a party to the proceeding, but who has an interest in the matter which entitles him to make the application. Thus, in a bankrupt proceeding or an administration action, an application by a creditor or the like would be described as made ex parte. In its more usual sense, ex parte means that an application is made by one party to a proceeding in the absence of another. Thus, an ex parte injunction is one granted without the opposite party having had notice of the application. It would not be called ex parte if he had proper notice of it and chose not to appear to oppose it. Ex parte in the heading of a reported case signifies that the name following that is that of the party upon whose the application the case is heard. Right? So when anytime, like we know that they make it a hassle for us to go to their court. They make it a hassle for us to have to deal with them, right? And they do that specifically to get us to say forget them and not go to court so they can ex parte. 99% of the time, like that's the trick that they do. Frustrate us to the point where we say, you know what, I don't want to deal with this, right? Because our perspective is that, they're running a fraud, and if they're running a fraud, why do I gotta go for? And you know what I mean? That's the angle that we usually look at it from. Why we don't go, right? We don't necessarily not go because we don't want to deal with the situation, or because we think we're guilty and we're trying to evade the adjudication. Most of the time, we don't deal with it because of the frustrating matter, or the way that they make the matter frustrating, right? So and ex parte, like how we found out about ex parte is from there was a brother out here that used to come to our classes that was dealing with he was dealing with a child services issue, right? Where they took his children and all that type of stuff, the children's aid people. So when he went to court, it was the same thing, going there, them, well, we can't hear this right now, blah blah, put it ahead one day, or we can't hear this right now, put it ahead a week, or we can't hear this right now, put it ahead, a month or whatever. We can't hear this now, put it till one time he just said, forget it, man, I'm not even going to this. But somebody else went, and when they went, they're sitting in the court, and they called the name. They called the name a few times. Nobody showed up, right? And they said, the prosecutor said to the judge, based on us obtaining leave because of the other party not being here, we should proceed with this trial ex parte because we're here and the children's aid people are here and the obligation is on the other person to be here. We sent them notice that today's the date, whatever, and they didn't show up, so we should go ahead with it. And the judge agreed with him, right? And based on that is how we found out about ex parte, right? So we make it a standard out here that we don't miss court dates, right? Like no matter what the situation is, make sure that you're at least there to say, oh yeah, I'm here, or I'm the agent for that, or whatever. Because to not be there means that they're gonna ex parte, and then once they ex parte, then they're gonna issue the bench warrant, right, and execute it. Because because like we were talking about earlier, most of the time, the jurisdiction that they get is assumed. It's not that they have some type of authority, right? Like they never have the authority to do what it is they say that they do, right? Majority of the time, they're assuming the jurisdiction because of our assumptions. Not even because of them. Just assuming that they have jurisdiction because they have a badge or whatever, right? They're assuming because of our actions, right? So when we take the action of not showing up to court, they assume that we don't know the law. They assume that we're taking a position of giving them, or they assume we're taking a position of civilir mortuus, which gives them leave, right? Islam.
But what about if we proceeded ourselves in court, papers before our court date?
Yeah, well, having paperwork proceeding before a court date is standard, but you still have to go because the court date, the paperwork is going to say that you're making a special appearance, right?
Okay. Even if we send a request for something for just a formal request, any type of formal request, like as far as a writ goes, even if we send in a writ of discovery, if we enter that in.
Yeah. Because remember that, like if you're sending in, okay, let's just do it like this, right? Okay. So remember, you're gonna send in a writ of discovery, right? And in the writ of discovery, you're gonna be saying that you are Elbe, ex-relation Strop, right? And that you're sending in this paper. Either you're gonna be asking a federal question, right, which is challenging jurisdiction, etc., or you're going to be asking questions related to the matter, right? But the bottom line is that process is you making a special appearance, right? you're not going there because you are the defendant. You're going there under special appearance. All right, right? Appearance, right? So Black's Law Dictionary, appearance. In practice, a coming into court. Right? So appearance means that you have to be present. But if you're not present, then you did not appear. Which is why they can go do the ex parte, because you didn't appear. You didn't appear in your free national position, nor in the straw position. So that position now is, that position is vacant. And because they have jurisdiction over the straw, they're going to assume the position of the authority of that straw.
But Islam.
What about after the default judgment?
Well, the default judgment isn't going to come until the time specified in your writ. So this is why you know, it's important that if we are going to have our paperwork precede us, that we have the paperwork precede us so far ahead that the paperwork is going to precede you and the default judgment is going to precede you. So like let's say your default, let's say your writ says they have to reply in 15 days, right? Your writ has to be in the court with enough time, because you already know they're not going to answer, right? They're already gonna default. So your writ has to be in with enough time that one, they default because the 15 days is up, and enough time for you to get the default judgment in as well. So you're going to be going in with the writ, and you're going to be going in with the default judgment, right? And you're going in with the default judgment mainly to show the judge that they defaulted on their position. What happens most of the time is that only the writ gets sent in, and then the default judgment comes after, and then that's how sometimes we get caught up in the back and forth battle with them, because there's no default judgment. There's no the default judgment is the checkmate, right? Because once the default judgment is there, then that proves that the matter's over, the matter's resolved, because they didn't take their position that they were supposed to take of answering the questions. Which, if they answer the questions, they default their position, and if they don't answer, then you default their position. So we get them in a catch-22 when we do this procedure, right? Now in the case of let's say you don't have enough time, right, to get your stuff in on time. Still send it. Even if it's going to be late, still send it, but also go with it, and with proof that you sent it. Right? So at least you have something to show, to say that you did send something in, and then you can just argue the fact that I wasn't given enough time. Right? Because you're supposed to have, when they give you disclosure, you're supposed to have enough time to review the disclosure, right? To prepare yourself for the case. So that's an argument in itself. You know what I mean? Right? Like that's an argument that you can use, that you didn't have enough time to prepare yourself for the case. So this needs to be adjourned for another date, so I can prepare myself. And remember that we're the law. They're not the authority, we're the authority. So we have to demand that from them, that you guys know that it's the law, that I'm supposed to receive, a certain amount of time with the disclosure and all that before you guys do anything. You know what I mean? Right? But let me go on with appearance still. So appearance, in practice, a coming into court as party to a suit whether as plaintiff or defendant, the formal proceeding by which a defendant submits himself to the jurisdiction of the court, the voluntary submission to a court's jurisdiction. Appearance is the act of appearing, coming, or being in sight, becoming visible or clear to apprehension of the mind, of being known as subject of observation or comprehension, or as a thing proved or being obvious or manifest. Appearance anciently meant an actual coming into court, either in person or by an attorney. Right? Appearance anciently meant an actual coming into court, either in person or by an attorney. And then keep in mind that, person, corporation, natural person is the real entity. So, either in corporate person position or attorney position. That's how we look at it today. But this is specific in saying that anciently it meant this. So anciently, they have corporate persons back then. If they say person, they meant person. They meant human being. Anciently. Right? So appearance may be made by the party in person or by his agent. Now the agent could be, if you don't take the position of free national ex relation, the straw, then the attorney takes that position, or the prosecutor. Right? They take that position of the agent, because everybody knows that straw can't defend itself. But then if you go out there and you say that, right, they're gonna play the game. What are you talking about? I don't know what you mean, a corporate person. What do you mean a corporate person? What's that? Or whatever. Like, they don't know. Right? But in criminal cases, the personal appearance of the accused in court is often necessary. An appearance may either be general or special. The former is a simple and unqualified or unrestricted submission to the jurisdiction of the court. The latter, a submission to the jurisdiction for some specific purpose only, not for all purposes of the suit. Right? So appearance can either be general, which is simple and unqualified or unrestricted submission to the jurisdiction of the court, or special, which is submission to the jurisdiction for some specific purpose only, not for all purposes in the suit. And the purpose that we would be going in for in making a special appearance is to let them know that, we're free nationals, we're Moorish American, we're not corporate people, and that they don't have jurisdiction. But you have to, we can stand on status, right? We can stand on status, but if they don't have jurisdiction, they can't dismiss. Right? That's how it gets into, what level court are you dealing with? Right. Because if you're dealing with, like you were saying, Article 3 court, district court, federal court, right, that has delegation of authority order, they already know that they don't have jurisdiction, so they'll just dismiss it. But if you're dealing with admin court, they would have to have jurisdiction in order to dismiss it, because they don't have the jurisdiction to just dismiss it.
They don't have the capacity.
They don't have the capacity, right? So, it's a tightrope. You know what I mean? Like, and then when you guys got a black law over there, right?
Oh yeah, we do.
Yeah. So because appearance goes into like 2 pages, right, of the definition of appearance, right? So always put some type of paper in, put something in, if you don't have the time to prepare a writ, then you have a defense based on you not having time to prepare yourself for the case. And then they have to honor that, because, you know, if they don't honor that, then they're denied you due process, and you could bring that up. If they want to, you know, that's like a, that's a shield. You know, for the record, are you denying me due process? And then that kind of, you know, puts them in a position where, you know, either they're going to answer or they're going to let you get your time. You know, because majority of the time they already know that they're wrong. You know what I mean? Any questions as of right now?
Because I see that that's what the game is right now, is not giving them time. They try to give you that time.
Right. Yeah. Right. And they, you know, it's getting to that position because their time's run out. They don't have time to give. Like, they don't have time to give. Their time is done. And all they're doing is buying time by, you know, getting people out of circulation. That's why they kidnap people. Because if they kidnap you, now they have your time. You seen the movie with Justin Timberlake? The Time movie, when everything's running on time, money is time or whatever. There's this movie. I can't remember the name of the movie, man. Oh my gosh. It's like a last year movie or something with Justin Timberlake. And,
In Time.
In Time, yeah. In Time. Watch that movie right there. That movie there that movie will put you on what's going on as far as the time. Right? And why they're always like, if you know, for let's say for the past maybe, I don't know, let's say 5 years. Like when we first started going to court, right? They were real nonchalant, chilling, laid back, doing stuff slow or whatever. Now, like, they're running people through. You know what I mean? Right now they do like if they have a thing here called it's a situation where if they have a bunch of cases, that they know they're going to dismiss because the officer's not there or there's some type of discrepancy in the case or whatever, they call everybody up at once. Right?
I've seen that before.
Yeah, they just call all the names. Okay, this name, this name, this name, this name, this name, this name. Are you guys here? Yeah, you're here? Okay, stand up. All right, go over there. And then they just empty those people out. Right? Because they don't have the time to sit there and go through all these people, right? And again, you know, that lets us know how fraudulent their system is. If they're not going to let people have due process, right? To go up and put their hand on the Bible, you know, say their name for the record and all that, and go through the process or the motions of the court, they're just going to pick you up, send you to a room, and then have you talk to the prosecutor. Like, that lets you know already. You know what I mean? That they're running out. You know? And you know, it's certain things that are going on are in our favor. Right? It's not like they're doing those things for morals. You know what I mean? That they're not doing those things for morals. They're doing those things for the dead people. You know, it's like when like out here, you know, as soon as you get to the door, you know, on the door it says business hours. Right? Should say court hours if it is a court. Right? And then when you go through the door, right on the side they have a big bronze plaque or whatever saying, oh yeah, this is, you know, administrative building or whatever. Right? Now, and then when you go in there, after you go in there now, they have on one side, they have the place where you go pay all your tickets and all that stuff, and then the other side, they have all the courtrooms, right? And when you go into the courtrooms and you talk to them, they'll tell you that, well, if you ask them, well, what kind of court is this? Is this a criminal court or is this a civil court? They'll tell you, this is a quasi-court. Like they'll say it. Prosecutors have told me that numerous occasions. Yeah, this is a quasi-court. What do you mean it's a quasi-court? Well, yeah, it's quasi-court. Okay, so that means you guys aren't even dealing with law here. Well, and then they start going into their spiel about, the Law Society of Canada and, the Ontario Court of Justice gets its jurisdiction because the blah, 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 when the only court out here is Supreme Court. And they're not even legit, as far as out here is concerned. You know what I mean? Because the Supreme Court is in the capital, right? Like the only Supreme Court out here is in the capital of the private corporation, which lets you know that they're not supreme, because they're subordinate to the private corporation. That's why they're in the capital. Now the other thing now, when situations happen, and they do when situations happen and they take the position of violating us, right? We have to start getting out of the mentality of filing liens on them and suing them and all that, because in order for us to go through that process, we have to go to them, which is a conflict of interest for us. Because why are we going to say, oh yeah, we're Moors, we're the sovereigns or whatever, but then we're going to go to their court to go sue them? And we know that if we go to their court, we're giving them jurisdiction. That in our writs that we were sending before, we're saying they don't have it. Right? So we trap ourselves. So what we do is we start producing writs of error. If something happens, if a situation happens, right? Okay, first of all, if any situation happens where we're denied due process, denied our rights, whatever, at the first opportunity we get, we document it. Right? Document it based on write it from a third-party perspective. Don't include yourself in it. Right? Write it from a third-party perspective, and you can use names. Right? So instead of I Kudro Ado L, Kudro Ado L was blah blah blah. Kudro Ado L this. Foreign European male, badge number, whatever, working under the guise of U.S. Marshal, violated my rights by A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever, right? And then you put the violations in there. If possible, see if you can get their names and put their names in the documentation that you're putting down. And when we're doing writs and when we're doing paperwork, etc., we have to keep it in mind that it's extremely important, because we're scientists, that we put pen to paper before we type. Because we take the energy off of what we're doing when we just put it in the computer first. Right? Because we look at the keys right now, everything's in all caps. Right? So, if we don't use cap locks, everything's in all lowercase. Right? So we have to get it in our mind that everything that we do is ritualistic, especially with regard to writing or preparing documents. Right? Because, books, whatever. Because everything that we put to paper is spelling. and spells and witchcraft and occult and, you know what I mean, going into our ancient foremothers and forefathers' powers that allowed us to rule the planet. Right? Right? So all writs, I don't care if it's 7 pages, 20 pages, whatever, write it out first. Right? Preferably in blue, red, purple ink. Right? Make sure you do that, write it out first, and then type it. And you know, majority of us have sisters around, and you know they could type. They're the stenographers, so it's not no big deal to transfer the 7 pages to a Word document or whatever, right? So writ of error, right? A writ issued from a court of appellate jurisdiction directed to the judge or judges of a court of record, requiring them to remit to the appellate court the record of an action before them, in which a final judgment has been entered, in order that examination may be made of certain errors alleged to have been committed, and that the judgment may be reversed, corrected, or affirmed as the case may require. It is brought for supposed error in law apparent on record, and takes case to higher tribunal, which affirms or reverses. It is commencement of a new suit to set aside judgment, and is not continuation of a suit which it relates. And unless abolished by statute, is writ of right applicable to all states in which jurisdiction is exercised according to course of common law, but is inapplicable to cases not known to or in derogation of common law unless otherwise provided by statute. So in order for there to have a statute, the statute has to sit on common law for the statute to even have any power. So a writ of error is a common law position, right? And again, if we're taking the position that we're the sovereign and we're, the Moors and we're the authority, etc., that means we're the judges. That means we're the court. The people are the court. The people are the government. The people are the jurisdiction that has to administer. Because if we let them do it, we see how that goes. They ex parte, they issue fake warrants from courts that don't have jurisdiction. They claim that they have authority when they don't have any. They don't show anything to show that they got authority, etc. Right? So I'm gonna just go through now. What you could do also too is you could contact Grand Sheet Nature, right? And you're gonna see if you can get this paper. And this is from 2006, right? When Nature, Great Seal Moors, sued Asbury Park. And when they sued Asbury Park, the court said that their suit was inadmissible because it wasn't written properly, and their case was fraud from the start. And to beat the case, the people who were being sued, their defense was diversity of citizenship, right? So they hit up Nature LB with tickets, suits, right, for exercising right to travel, right? He went to court, and then all his stuff got dismissed because they stood on principles of law. After it got dismissed, they countersued, right? When they countersued, the defense that the officer or the public servants used was diversity of citizenship in order to get the case thrown out. Which shows that that's a defense too now. That can be used. Right? You know the saying, jury of your own peers? Right? Okay, well, it's the same thing with being sued. You can't be sued by somebody of diverse citizenship. And you can't sue somebody of diverse citizenship. The only way you can do that is internationally. Right? And how you do it internationally is, the argument is based on peonage and slave trade and all these things that are supposedly abolished.
Right.
Not driving ordinances or things of that nature. Right?
High crime.
Right. Exactly. Right? High crimes. Right? International criminal court violations. Not statute ordinance violations. And that's why we go with the writ of error. Because majority of us, even if we got the opportunity to go to high court or go to international court, we not gonna have no fiat to get there anyways. Right? Like if they said, okay, yeah, we're gonna hear your case in the UN for the violations against you, the body of Moors aren't gonna be able to go. Right? One or two Moors might be able to go, but if we're saying that we're a nation, and it's not like, it's not like a Wu-Tang show where, they're buying everybody's ticket to come to court. You know what I mean? Every individual has to get there on their own accord. Right? So I just wanna read from some of the writ of error response, right, to the original class action in the United States District Court for Eastern District of Pennsylvania. So the plaintiffs, Great Seal, Moor Science Temple of America Incorporated et al. So one, the plaintiff is corporation. The plaintiff isn't an individual or some individuals. Right? Versus defendants, State of New Jersey. So the whole state. Right? Asbury Park Police Department, Sergeant John Broyles, Officer Joseph Spellina, Officer John P. Sodian III, Patricia Green, Court Clerk, Wall Township Police Departments, Sergeant Lance Lottie, Sergeant Broccoli, Jim's Towing, Richard's Auto Body, et al. Note, the plaintiffs. For the public record, the plaintiffs, demandants, Moorish Americans, have not seen nor communicated directly with the European Jean Prater, nor have the plaintiffs, Moorish Americans, being availed access to the United States District Court for just and due process of law to be heard before the people of their own national peers, and to be afforded regress and remedy for the multiple torts imposed upon Moorish Americans, individual and collectively, etc., by way of the private law individuals and by anti-constitutional corporate entities and employees imposing customs and superseding their jurisdictional or alleged delegated political and or law powers and or authority. The plaintiffs' demandants filed a writ of mandamus in the nature of removal complaint to the United District Court of Pennsylvania Commonwealth due to continuous hindrances, diversions, and abuses experienced locally and coming from openly hostile pseudo-government persons. The untoward dispositions of clerks and other state employees and officers appeared predisposed and orchestrated, affecting due process and blockage of the Moorish Americans to access the courts of proper jurisdiction in New Jersey territory. The hostility, disrespect, bias, national discrimination, and prejudice against Moorish Americans / plaintiffs, etc., was made absolutely clear and apparent. Oh, and also too, I think this is on the Moorish Guidepost website. Right, so you can, if you just go to the website, they should have this online. In accord with that same color of law and color of right established pattern, the persons assigned to the case number 05CV345 in Philadelphia sat on it for a long time, giving the appearance to block any sincere efforts made by Moorish Americans demandants remedy or to have the case heard by the people in a legitimate court of original jurisdiction. No timely legal notice was issued, nor was a fair response given by the European judge Jean Prater to the Moorish Americans' federal question filings in New Jersey Territory versus Pennsylvania Territory. The plaintiffs, however, and under duress, took into consideration the serious federal and international law violation nature of the complaint and sought to appeal to the oath, obligated conscience of maybe someone in the federal government who may show or have some semblance of allegiance to the Constitution and to the obligations which all officers of courts are bound by and have by law, the obligations to enforce the same. The plaintiffs' demandants further state for the public record that in accord with the oath-bound obligations of all officials of courts in the United States of North America and superior to any personal or compromised opinions held by any of them, that a lack of federal jurisdiction cannot be waived or overcome by agreement of parties, and that a want of jurisdiction may not be cured by a denial of due process, nor be arbitrarily ignored by officers of any state court or inferior court or non-Article 3 court or persons who arbitrarily seize jurisdiction over any natural person / Moor / citizen suffering torts against 4th Amendment, 9th Amendment, secured rights, and civil liberty complaints. These colored acts were and are exacerbated by a lack of due process and by the private agenda suppression of issues of identity and diversity, etc. Underline, the judges of the Supreme and inferior courts and the opposing persons herein mentioned are sworn by oath or affirmation to uphold the Constitution. The aggressive and prosecutorial text of the memorandum and order for dismissal as filed by the European Judge Jean Prater, member of the District Court, and dated September 20th, 2005, is left intact for the natural people, Republic government to read, to critique, and to analyze. A response to, objections to, and or correction to Prater's filings, falsehoods, and misrepresentations which he erroneously presented as facts are herein interjected by the plaintiff, Moorish Americans, and will be noted throughout the 8 pages and text of Judge Prater's biased memorandum and order. These interjections have been made to maintain a reasonable flow in the plaintiff's Moorish Americans' response and objections to allow for reasonable and comparative examinations be made by the people. This will expose many obvious propagated untruths and shed light upon deliberately concocted misconceptions and misrepresentations made about and against the plaintiffs and injuriously directed against indigenous Moorish Americans in general. Judge Jean Prater, the European / Englishman, made an obviously personal and prejudiced dismissal determination on that same deviant, contrived, and false information conflictingly presented by himself. His self-appointed jury and barrage of biases were used as a justification for minimizing and diverting the importance of and the validity of Moorish Americans' mandamus and removal suits. That self-serving dismissal implies the sanctioning of color of law and racketeering activities of many municipal court persons who are exacting extortion ordinances and pseudo-law. See the Fourth Amendment of the Bill of Rights and Due Process Rights as an example of de jure law, which was constitutionally put in place to protect the people from that type of person or persons who use government positions for pseudo-legal theft of the people's rights and property. All points of law and fact need not be addressed at this time and place. Limited space and the fact that the subject matters inalienable rights, substantive rights, and inherited birthrights of the plaintiffs, Moorish Americans, and the citizens, etc., cannot be properly addressed in this or any other brief, nor given fair review in a compromised, restricted, colored, and hindered forum. Right? So that was like and there's more, but that's just the intro page, right? Of the writ of error, right? And then they go into all the violations. They speak about the executive order 13107, implementation of human rights treaties, December 1998, signed by Bill Clinton. Which goes into with the video and what you were saying about Article 15 and all that. Because they know Bill Clinton signed this, right? You'll just put that out there. December 10th, 1998. By the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, right? So the authority vested in him, Bill Clinton, as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, not the U.S. Corporation, right? And bearing in mind the obligations of the United States pursuant to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. So that's something to look up, right? The covenant, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, ICCPR. The Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhumane, and Degrading Treatment or Punishment, CAT. The Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination, CERD, and other relevant treaties concerned with the protection and promotion of human rights, to which the United States is now or may become party in the future, is hereby ordered as follows. Section 1. Implementation of human rights obligations. A. It shall be the policy and practice of the government of the United States, who the so-called U.S. Marshals are subordinate to, right? Being committed to the protection and promotion of human rights and fundamental freedoms, fully to respect and implement its obligations under the international human rights treaties to which it is a party, including the ICCPR, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the CAT, Convention Against Torture, and the CERD, Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination. B. It shall also be the policy and practice of the government of the United States to promote respect for international human rights, both in our relationships with all other countries and by working with and strengthening the various international mechanisms for the promotion of human rights, including inter alia those of the United Nations, the International Labour Organization, and the Organization of American States. Right? So since 1998, it's been on the record through executive order, which only presidents can do, and they could only do that under the authority of the Constitution of the United States of America, not the Constitution of the U.S. that we see today with all these amendments, 20 amendments or whatever, right? The Constitution of the laws of the United States of America is 7 articles and 10 Bill of Rights, right? That's where they get the authority to put out these executive orders. And this executive order, during the administration of William J. Clinton, let me read what they put on it. Note, the plaintiffs also present this supportive excerpt from the United States Executive Order 13107, implementation of human rights treaties, which also gives supports and validates remedy to the complaints made by and the political positions held by the Moorish Americans, plaintiffs/petitioners. The nature of this executive order further substantiates and exposes the untoward and law diversion position of the defendants and of Judge Jean Prater, the European. What government, political order, or foreign entity are these people really aligned with and in service to? The untoward actions and attitudes initiated by the state and municipal defendants certainly begs the federal question. Federal question cases are those arising under the Constitution of the United States, acts of Congress, or treaties, and involving their interpretation and application, and of which jurisdiction is given to federal courts, are commonly described as involving a federal question, quote unquote. See United States Codes, Section 28, 1331, with respect to federal question jurisdiction of federal courts. The officers of subordinate municipal governments cannot feign a disconnection to federal law and national obligations. Right? And again, like, they go through, they have so the response, okay, so this was the position of Judge Prater, and then we're putting all this out there just so you can see that the remedy lies in us exposing these people. That's how we're gonna get remedy, because Taj's name is on this, Grand Sheik Nature's name is on this, as well as Great Seal, Moorish Science Temple of America, and Moorish Americans. They didn't take a position of, this is just his case. They took the position of, this is nation's business. This is a collective business. Whether people are down with it, signed it, or whatever is irrelevant. That's why in there it constantly states Moorish American, and it never says Nature El Bay. It always says Moorish American, Moorish Americans, right? Because we have to work in unison as active Moors. And we do. It's the passive Moors and the religious Moors that listen to dirty Moors that have the issue of how come Moors can't unite, and why aren't Moors united, and we need Moors to unite more, and what? We're united. Active Moors are united, right? Just like, all the numbers, the brothers I gave you today, right? Those are brothers who, they don't live around here, but they're willing to build with anybody that's willing to be active. You know what I mean? Right? So, Judge Prater Memorandum and Order. Factual background. The Great Seal Moorish Science Temple of America and other related entities. The Moorish Science Temple of America was founded by Timothy Drew, aka Prophet Noble Jwali, in 1913. The more members of plaintiff, the Great Seal 7 appear to be followers of Drew's teachings. Drew preached that all African Americans are of Moorish descent and thus are not citizens of the United States. See United States versus James 328, Federal 3D 953-954, 7th Circuit 2003. Drew instructed his followers that all Moorish Americans must carry a Moorish passport bearing one's real name, which was often created fictitiously by adding names that Drew claimed corresponded to the three ancient Moroccan tribes, Ali, Bey, or El, to one's given birth name. Judge Pratt. Response and objections made by plaintiffs, Moorish Americans. Once again, putting the Moors in there. Not looking at this from an individual perspective, looking at this for the whole. Because the activity that active Moors take is to benefit the nation. It's not to benefit the individual. You know, it's no different than you know, if a Moor, let's say, you know, how many Moors do you think, let's say, they say, all right, any Moors who have right to travel cases or had right to travel cases, come down to the court and pick up your check. Because we were in violation and, you know what I mean, we're paying y'all out. How much more is it going to take that fiat and put it back into the nation? How many more is going to take that and go do like, you know, balling with it? You know what I'm saying? Opposed to giving back to the nation, right? Whose sovereignty they were using in order to even make an argument for them to get some payout. Right? So response and objections made by plaintiffs. The Moor Science Temple of America was founded by Prophet Noble Drew Ali during the year 1913 AD, in the territory, land area, which is now corporately called Newark, New Jersey State Republic, being a part of the greater body politic. See Quran question for Moorish Americans number 9. The United States of America, which is also a republic, established having a republican form of government. See Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution. So you already see where you would go when you're creating a writ of error based on their position, right? You're going to use all the ammunition that you have in your arsenal. All of it. Like, we're not holding back any ammunition. More so, the ammunition given to us by Noble Drew Ali. Because none of the things that Noble Drew Ali brought, presented, handed down to the Moors has been refuted or rebutted. Nothing by anybody. Right? That's just like somebody posted today, I think it was Brother Amir in New Jersey, in New York, posted today, descendant of Queen of Sheba or something like that, talking about how the jurisdiction of Kush extended to Asia, Africa, or Asia, Africa when it was called Kush, right? And to the Americas. This is a so-called quote-unquote African, saying that the jurisdiction of dark-skinned people on the continent extended into Asia and over here to the Americas. The exact same thing that Noble Drew Ali told the Moors. Right? Fact. An allodial national name, or two, fact. An allodial national name given to any living human being at natural birth by the being's natural mother and father, being free from threat, duress, coercion, slavery, and or oppression, is legitimate and valid and substantive fact a ward name and surname imposed upon a natural people by virtue of forced servitude, threat, duress, coercion, state-imposed wardship, strawman constructs, nom de guerre, nom de plume, or the imposed names of another nation of people, brackets, Europeans, etc., is forever a fraud and a violation of honor. Such names are contrary to truth and are not in propria persona. Prophet Noble Jew Ali, in his missionary work, taught and commanded the Moorish Americans to be themselves. Prophet Noble Jew Ali taught that brands such as Negroes, blacks, colored people, Ethiopians, African Americans, etc., are actually and factually fictitious. See Exhibit A and Exhibit F, Act 6. So Exhibit A and Exhibit F is Divine Constitution and Bylaws and the additional laws. Right, that's in the back of the 101s. Right? The natural peoples who have been socially buried under those European coin brands and tags are Moorish Americans by truth, national descent, and bloodline. Due to European-induced misinformation and forced servitude in the colonized Americas, and due to indigenous Moorish Americans being subjected to a usurping European psychology, the Moorish Americans have been bearing those brands and other coin names and monikers which have nothing to do with true history of nations and are not connected to the truth as our extant Moabite Moorish forefathers. The European-oriented brands and tags are thus not our Moorish Americans' real, substantive, authentic, nor actual national identity names. Judge Prater knows that as fact. There is not an evidence of any African American country in the records of the world. Prophet Noble Jew Ali did not preach that African Americans are of Moorish descent. Ali teaches these words were falsely given to the Asiatics of America who were of Moorish descent. See Holy Quran of the MST of A, chapter 47. There is no Negro country, national seal or flag. There is no colored or black country, people or flag or nation or seal or constitution. The same identity, nation of people, cannot be all those disparate and alien things and brands at the same time and remain legitimately represented as real or as truth to any reasoning natural person. If there has been a notable change in the political realities involving the planet Earth concerning governments, the plaintiffs, Moorish Americans, have not been notified by the defendants nor by Judge Prater, the Englishman. Right? So you see how they always refer to the judge as the Englishman to show diversity of citizenship, to show that he's not, he can't call himself a judge and have any jurisdiction over Moorish Americans because he came after, right? Always identifying that Article 4, Section 4 constitutional and legitimate amendments are being violated. Always acknowledging that there's a international protocol that everybody agreed to, including U.S., United States of America Republic, Canada, and Canada Republic, and all the jurisdictions above and below those, right? Always making reference to Noble Jew Ali and the Prophet and what he taught, because Noble Jew Ali did bring us government. He did bring us the true organic perspective of religion that the Vatican took and created their sovereign nation in Rome. The exact same thing. The Moorish Science Temple was supposed to have a building just like that over on this side, just like Washington, D.C., you know, certain jurisdictional, you know, whatever in Chicago, and that would have been the headquarters of the Moors, where we rule the world from. Just like Vatican does right now because they jacked our birthright. Just like U.S. does in Washington, D.C. because they jacked our birthright. And dirty Moors let them do it. Right? So there isn't really, you know, like what, like when you go through this thing and you see how the Europeans, the Albions, the Caucasoids, whatever, you see how they know what the truth is, but they don't come out with it. You know, like we were talking about with the video, right? How, you know, every time you brought up something about international law and whatever, you know, freaking U.S. Marshals, you know, rubbing his forehead and stuff, looking away, you know, looking at whatever's up in the sky or whatever, you know, looking around and all that stuff because, like, you know, like we're saying, they know. It's not they don't know, right? But they have to put up the front that they're some type of authority, you know what I mean? They have to make it look good, you know? Because, you know, they don't have anything else. You know, people are waking up so fast that, you know, they gotta make this look real good. You know what I mean? They'll throw flash grenades and all that stuff just to, you know, get the smoke and, you know what I mean? And everybody on the outside, you know, it's like when the brother out here, you know, got kicked out of jail, right? They locked him up for 12 days and told him, okay, well, you have court date, let's go to court. They took him to court, you know, had him in his orange jumpsuit, had him sitting there until 4 o'clock. Court closes at 4 o'clock, you know. Court clerk comes in, sees him sitting there, you know, is questioning him, you know, what are you doing here, you know what I mean? Why are you just sitting here? Well, you guys brought me here for court. Well, why don't you just go home? Like, we're trying to get out of here. You're holding us up from leaving. And they made this man walk home in his orange jumpsuit. Right? And people are on the street and they're seeing him and they're thinking, you know, nigger, whatever. They don't even know that, you know, all his charges got dropped. You know what I mean? They don't even know that he didn't even have a trial or nothing like that. They just kidnapped him for 30 days, brought him to the court, left him there, and everybody went about their business and just left him sitting there. And he has no charges right now. To this day, he has no charges for whatever they kidnapped him for. Right? So they have to put up this front. Like, they have to. You know? Islam.
No question. Just, you know, recapping what we was talking about earlier, saying getting the names of the policy enforcers and all that. What is the best way to get the bonding number from these policy enforcers? And after that, after getting the bonding number, what's the best way to enforce it and push it to cancel out their insurance? So we make sure they're not actively being on the streets and violating other people.
Well, as far as the bond numbers, majority of the time, what they do is they get one bond for all those guys. That's why they never have a bond number, let's say, right? So, you know, that's a violation because everybody should have their own bond number.
Exactly.
Right? So I mean, it's as easy as calling. Just call them up. Yeah, you know, this marshal or whoever, you know, violated his. Oh, also too, go on RV Bay, get the law enforcement code of ethics.
Yeah, well, I got that in my phone right now.
Yeah, right. So you get that, and you use that as the thing that you say they violated. Right? Well, this officer violated his law enforcement code of ethics, and we're going to be making a complaint to, and you find out whatever the tribunal name is, right? And you use that. You know, use that entity as the way to get the number because you're making a complaint, but really you're getting the bond number so you can put it out there in the public record, right? And then as far as stop them from violating people, if we expose them, right? No different than, you know, like we were saying earlier, if your driving record sucks, you're not gonna get insurance. Everybody's gonna deny you. And if you do pay, then you have to give up arms, legs, you know what I mean, like body parts in order to get the minimal coverage of insurance, right? So if we expose them for committing all these violations and expose them through, you know, videos, just like you've done already, right? Putting it out there, you know what I mean? Through writs of errors, that when we prepare a writ of error, every individual that's a member of our society is taking that writ and they're faxing it to 10 people or 20 people or 30 people and emailing it to 30 people and sending it in the mail to, you know, China embassy and Mexican embassy and Cuban embassy and all these other nations of the world who know about the violations, but they can't really do or say anything because it's always black people complaining. And they can't do nothing for them. They can't say anything. They just have to look at the complaint and just shake their head and just, like, again, the black guys complaining about something. You know what I mean? Right? And then this is also too gonna get us familiar with the protocol of putting stuff in writing when they violate us. We don't have to necessarily, you know, sue them, right? We don't have to take them into a court in order to get recourse and remedy. We could just put them on blast all over the world. You know what I mean? Especially if we have their names. Especially if you have a video and you can, you know, crop the video, cut the video so you can show people's face or whatever in a picture form and put that in the writ.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you have their, you know, the license numbers on their little vehicles that they're driving around with, that they're abusing people with and all that. And you put that out there as much as you can. You know, it's like you know how they say, there's no such thing as bad publicity. You know, well, there's bad publicity for them guys, because guaranteed they probably only have one bond for all those officers.
Hey. So, thank you.
You know what I mean? And again too, like just like you're saying, if you have 5, 6, like this is what brother that's why I sent sis the link to the Fonteas Skype that we did, because that's the avenue where lack of a better term, active Moors are going. That we're not talking about go leave your body and none of that anymore, right? We're talking about suing them, but putting them on blast. Yeah, peace. Yeah, Moors. You know how they do already.
Yeah.
Just when it's getting good. Yeah.
Energy too high.
Yeah. Straight up. That's exactly what it is. So it's all about put them on blast. You know what I mean? That's the real suit. The real suit is just expose them. You know what I mean? Also too, I was talking with brother Raheem that if the issue is setting up setting up out there, two things that you could do. All right. One, you contact Brother Nature. Get with Brother Nature to let him set you up as a temple out there. Right. So at least that way you're showing noble Joe allegiance to the temple, not just just some Moors, right? Or you go through RV Bay and get set up as Great Seal out there, right? I would say do them both, because you could never have too much allegiance, especially as far as active Moors are concerned. Like whatever Moors that are active, get with them, and start making alliances with all these different Moors out there that are active, that are like I was saying, Brother Casanova, Brother Hakeem. These are Moors who have dealt with in past tense these type of issues with public servants taking a certain position, and after they realize that you're legit, they leave you alone. You know what I mean? After they see that you are serious about it, you're not one of these Moors trying to get a handout or whatever from birthrights, they stop messing with you. Just because they'll know that you're real, because that whole perspective that these Moors brought in with this UCC and sovereign talk and all that has caused a lot of people to get injured, a lot of people to misrepresent the movement, misrepresent themselves, have caused people to have power where it doesn't really reside with them. You know what I mean? Especially with after the whole thing with the sovereigns that came out the car shooting up police and all that type of stuff. You know what I mean? That caused a lot of confusion. You know what I mean? That caused a lot of confusion, especially when, because we know that like Brother Taj talks about, we play the position of defending foolishness. You know what I mean? And when people aren't down with our foolishness, then we wanna pull shanks out and go in our coat for gats and stuff like that, right? Because so people know that we have a mixed spirit, like Noble Joe Ali says. So they look out for that. I mean, they know you might step on the wrong man's shoe and get shot in the head. You know what I mean? So they are taking the precautions that they have to take. I mean, it's their livelihood. Their job is to serve and protect. You know what I mean? And in them serving and protecting, they who knows what they're gonna encounter out here. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's not to give them a pass or nothing like that, but it's like the fireman job. You might be on the roof and fall through. That's just part of the job. You know what I mean? You know what risk you're coming up against, so they're gonna take certain steps to make sure that they're protected, because they want to go home to their family too at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? And like we were saying earlier, all they're doing, they're just following their protocol. Ain't nothing personal. Majority of the time, like we tell the Moors out here, and a lot of Moors get mad when we talk like this, because everybody wants to take vengeance for when somebody violates them, right? But we tell the Moors out here, the amount of vengeance that you're gonna take out on them, make sure you take it out on yourself first. Because I'm pretty sure you're the one that got yourself in whatever it is why they're attacking you. Not just attacking you just because they don't have anything to do or they're racist or, you know, they just want to exercise color of law on the whole planet or whatever. A lot of it is us messing up. A lot of it is us saying that we're, you know, black people. So, okay, well, you know, if you're black people, then you get your ass kicked. Nothing personal. That's just what it is, right? It's been that from time immemorial, right? Which actually brings me to something I saw in here that I wanted to right, so I was looking up black code, right? Black code, a name given collectively to the body of laws, statutes, and rules in force in various southern states prior to 1865, right? Key date, because nobody usually used that date, which regulated the institution of slavery, and particularly those forbidding their reception at public inns and on public conveyances, right? And then it goes down a little further, and then it says Black Muslim, an organization of American Negroes founded in Detroit in 1930 by an American Negro calling himself Muhammad Elijah.
What it's funny that you say this, now we're gonna cut you off, but just before we came here, we were watching Muhammad Ali, his movie.
Yeah.
Watching that, and that was the first time I ever heard the term Black Muslim.
Right.
I heard that before.
Right.
But it's good that you brought that up. This is a typo on that.
Exactly, right? To the traditional Quran, the founders added the doctrine of black supremacy and proclaimed the desirability of maintaining or regaining the purity of the black race. So this is what Black's Law Dictionary says about black Muslims. And notice they mention the founder in here, right? But they never mention the organization's name.
Right.
Because they're not a nation.
Right. And that was under the Black Code?
That was under Black Muslim.
It was under Black Muslim? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, right? I was in Black Muslim. Right? Yeah, so that caught my eye. Another thing too, this one's interesting. Law of the land. Due process of law. By the law of the land is most clearly intended the general law which hears before it condemns, which proceeds upon inquiry and renders judgment only after fair trial. The meaning is that every citizen shall hold his life, liberty, property, and immunities under the protection of general rules which govern society. Everything which may pass under the form of an enactment is not the law of the land. When first used in Magna Carta, the phrase probably meant the established law of the kingdom, in opposition to the civil or Roman law. It is now generally regarded as meaning general public laws binding on all members of the community. It means due process of law, warranted by the Constitution, by the common law adopted by the Constitution, or by statutes passed in pursuance of the Constitution. Right? So law of the land is due process of law. Right?
That's all it can be.
Say that again?
That's all that it can be.
Exactly. Right? And again, you know, it's not like they don't know. They know this. Right? But if our position, if we if we slack just a little bit, they're taking whatever we give them. If we slack a little bit, they're taking whatever we give them. Right? You know what I'm saying?
And they're giving us an opportunity to go ahead and, you know, expose their fraud.
Yeah, yeah. Because, I mean, also, too, like, a lot of them know that the fraud's up, but, you know, 50 G's a year, drive around and eat donuts or whatever all day, that's good money. You know what I mean? Right? It's, you know, they know, but at the same time, you know, I mean, if they don't have to, they won't tell. You know? Because they're really not upholders of anything. They're just hired people, just like guy at McDonald's or whatever. You know, they don't, you know, that's all it is for them. You know what I mean? It's a paycheck. You know?
No, check for a second, because while I'm working, I had a lady tell me that she said, I don't know too much about court procedures. This is just a job for me, just like Walmart.
Right.
Told me that face to face.
Right. You know, and you know, they expose themselves like that usually when they're wrong. So they can, you know, kind of look good to you so you don't sue them. Like if you, like even if it's even the dialogue from the kidnapping to the station, you know what I mean? Things going on in the station. You know, the activity of people, the energy that was going on, like, you know, like there's Moors out here who, you know, one brother, brother Amari, he got kidnapped one time out of court, right? Because he was taking the position in the court of the executor, right? He had an executor letter, so he was basically saying that, well, I'm the trustee and I'm naming you guys the fiduciary, so you guys have to deal with this. Whatever financial obligation is being processed. I'm not dealing with it. You guys deal with it. And he was about to leave, and they like he left the little box, right, to leave, right? Case is done, right? They already said, okay, whatever, you know, right? He's getting leave. They pulled him over the thing, right?
Hey.
So they could kidnap him.
Yeah.
They kidnap him, take him to the back, and they have him in there, you know what I mean? And he's talking about, yeah, man, you know, I was in the cell, I was getting ready to do my time and shit, like getting my push-ups and shit like that or whatever, right? And then man comes up to him and says, you know, you guys need to take this stuff back to your land or whatever, right? And then he told the public servant, but this is my land. Like, how are you, foreigner, gonna tell me that I need to go somewhere else when you're in my land and you're the one that has to go home? Man went away, talked to somebody for 2 seconds, and then they let him out. Like, just like that. No bye, no words after that, no nothing. Just let him walk out the place.
There's testing his knowledge right there.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
See if he's well studied.
Exactly. See if you know what you're talking. You really on this? Because they know what's up. Right? They know. Just like the brother Hakeem who I gave you. You know what I mean? The officers came up to his crib. You know? Well, you know, doing whatever, and you know, if they when they come to our domiciles, our, you know, places where we reside, and they have papers saying things, you know, when they don't put the paper to the window for you to read it, probably something fraudulent going on. Cause you know we see that on the shows, right? You got a warrant? Oh yeah, bam, and they put it on the glass, right, for you to read it. If they don't do that, and they're, you know, like the guys, you know what I mean, they had it over here in the back or whatever. Now we got a warrant for your, yeah, well, is that, you know, is that a real warrant? Like, you know, show me the warrant. If the warrant's legit, you shouldn't have any problem showing me the warrant. But, right, and all those things are the things of rid of error. But what I was saying was with Brother Hakeem, they came and, you know, talking through the door and all that stuff, and eventually they just got fed up and they said, okay, so you're more? Okay. Let me ask you a question then. What's this land called? This is the policy enforcer. They just threw everything out the window, what they came there for and whatever, and they just asked them, okay, you know what, what's this land called? No, this land's a maximum or whatever. These guys just left. They didn't even bother with what they came there for. They just left. So they are, you know, testing people. A few years ago, Brother Jabbar in Indiana, FBI went to check him. Like FBI came to his door. You know what I mean? To see is he legit or are you just, you know what I mean? Like, who are you? You know, we hear about you, we seen you in the news and all this type of stuff. We want to know who you are. You're talking all this constitutional stuff, whatever, you know, and school them, and they're like, oh, all right, you're legit. You know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's FBI. You know what I'm saying? So it is actual, factual that they know. You know what I mean? Like we get here all the time. Officers straight telling us, yo, you know, are you guys sovereign citizens? No, we don't get down with no sovereign citizens and stuff like that. You guys know that. You guys know us. You guys seen our nationality cards. You guys seen us up in court and whatever. What do you mean are we sovereign citizens? Oh, well, you know, we just have to ask because, you know, it's like, come on, yo. Why don't you just recognize?
Yeah.
You know? But why don't they just recognize? Cause there's so much dirty Moors out there doing madness with this birthright issue that they don't know who to trust. And they're not in the business of just trust people. You know what I mean? They're not in the business. They're not gonna let it fly like that. You know what I mean? They can't let it fly like that. You know? And again, you know, I can't wrong them for what they do. Because the problem is a lot of us that make it difficult, that make it hard. You know what I'm saying? It's our own that make it hard. You know? Like there's more Europeans standing up for birthright issues as Moors than Moors that are dark skinned. There's a European out here that he's outcast from his family because he's standing up on nationality and birthrights as a Moor, and he doesn't want to say that he's Greek or whatever, and his family's ousting him. Like his dad's willing to give him, you know, thousands of dollars for him to get a lawyer to fight his tickets or whatever, and he's going into the court as a Moor getting stuff dismissed as a European. And his dad still doesn't want to go with it. His dad's still not going with it. When he's gone into court and got stuff dismissed as a European, saying he's a Moor wearing a fez, saying that he's El Bay. You know what I mean? That's all, it's real. You know? But some people, you know, like we're saying this, you know, some people just aren't worthy. You know? And a lot, I was talking with Brother Casanova today. One of the things that we're gonna be doing, implementing, whatever, is the discussion about nobility and Moors starting to take the position of being nobles again. Right? Moors taking the position of, we don't, like, you know, what you do in the privacy of your own home or whatever is your business or whatever. But when we get into the outside and people seeing us and whatever, like we have to be walking on clouds when people see us. Yo, we gotta have it so tight when people see us. People have to see us and, you know, the Red Sea's parting and all that. People have to see us and they're putting down their jacket so we don't step in the mud and stuff like that. You know, just because, like, that's just the standard that we have to set and that we have to implement. You know, and it doesn't have anything to do with, you know, dashikis and pantaloons and, you know, curly toe shoes and fezzes and whatever. It's just once we take the study perspective serious, we're gonna exude what we study. You know what I'm saying? Just like you're saying about, you know, yeah, you used to have, you know, dreams about all types of stuff, and now you dream about morals. You dreaming in colors, and there's people in there, and they're Moors, and you're building about Moors in your dreams and stuff like that. And you know what I mean? You're waking up and it's 7-Eleven every morning or whatever. You know what I mean? Like when it starts getting on that frequency right there, you know what I mean?
That's the manifest. Manifest
destiny. You know what I mean? And we're not manifesting destiny on no, you know, doctrine of discovery trying to take over people's land or whatever. We're manifesting destiny because it's our destiny that we reclaim this lost estate. Drawley set it up since 1913. You know what I mean? Made it official in 29 that we're back. Everything's ours. Not out of, you know, greed or nothing like that, but everything's ours. Like, what do you guys want? You know what I mean? Indians not legit. Because all those guys got shut up at the Pan American Conference. They couldn't say nothing when Drew Ali came through. They couldn't say nothing. You know what I mean? Right? Like their position was void after that conference. Void. They can't say nothing. That's why they're getting what they're getting with the whole reserves and all that. You know, because they became the new nigger. Because we're not in that position anymore. Even though some of us accept it, some of us take that position, that's not our position. You know what I mean? You know, it's like King Alfred plan, where it talks about the minority and it says poor whites in there. You know? Poor whites are niggers too. You know? And you know, they have a right to reclaim their birthright. You know, because the poor whites, more than likely, you know, it's like everybody has those Europeans that, you know, back in the day, like, you know, you're just like a brother or whatever. You know, you listen to hip hop. I'm gonna hang out with you more than I hang out with some brothers or whatever. And everybody gets mad. Oh, why you got this white boy as your friend or whatever like that? When, yo, he's more down than you guys. You know what I'm saying? He's backing me more than you're backing me. He's pushing me on some knowledge, and you're trying to tell me about sneakers and basketball games or whatever. Why am I not gonna side with him? You know what I'm saying? If he's on it. You know? Yeah. Right? You know, it's few, but they're down with it. You know what I mean? You know? And it's just us recognizing that that's what it is. You know what I mean? It's like even today, you know, arguing with these people on Facebook about this whole, you know, racism, and you know, there was somebody put up a post, oh, like all whites are racist. Like, what do you mean all whites are racist? Like, what are you talking about? You know, you mean all blacks are racist? You know, black means pale, and you know, white people are us. Like, what do you guys talk about? Oh, you know, well, you know, blah blah blah. Oh well, you know, I know that you're more, so you know, you're just here to attack, whatever. Like, what? I never mentioned nothing about more or whatever. I'm just saying, black means pale. Like, what's up with you guys? You know what I mean? I ain't mentioned nothing about no Moors. Why you bringing up Moors all of a sudden?
Just speaking truth.
You know what I mean? Just speaking truth, right? So they're bringing up this thing of racism. I'm like, yo, well, how about look up racism in Black's Law Dictionary?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. But the funny part though, because the only reason I checkmated them is because, you know, that's the school I come out of. I come out of the Black Power school or whatever, and certain terms is the first things that we look up when we started getting these dictionaries. And racism and racist isn't even in the Black's Law Dictionary.
Exactly.
So after he was, you know, pumping up his chest about, well, you know, I have Black Law dictionaries, you know, I'm like, all right, go look up racist, tell me what it means in there. Oh, well, I went to look it up and, you know, it wasn't in there, but race was in there, and then they go off on a tangent about race and what race means, and I'm like, yo, I got 5 law dictionaries. I know what race means up in there. That's not why I sent you to look up. You know what I mean? How about you just shut the hell up now, stop digging your grave, right? You know, like Brother Taj said, instead of flap, just put down the shovel, stop digging. Because you're about 20 feet right now, and you're gonna have to get out that hole that you just dug for yourself. Right? And once you look up racist in Black's Law Dictionary, racial, racism, you know, whatever, and it's not in there, you're supposed to shut the hell up. You know what I mean? Like, the argument's done. There's nothing else to argue. There's no such thing as racism if it's not in the Black Law Dictionary.
They still trying to qualify.
Right? Still trying to qualify, right? Still trying to justify, you know? And I mean, we can't wrong them because, you know, our people are, you know, our people are put our own in slavery before anybody else. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, man. So, you know, just continue what y'all are doing out there. You know, make sure you contact those brothers and keep in mind that you know, Grand Sheik Nature and Brother Taj, RV Bay Publications, Moorish Guideposts, those are probably the 2 best sources for establishing yourselves out there, right? With lawful Moorish documentation in order to, you know, be able to put people on notice that, okay, this is how you're exercising now as, you know, Moorish Science Temple, Great Seal, you know, whatever. The key thing is to have a tie to Noble Drew Ali.
Right.
Like, ultimately, that's what it really comes down to. Having a tie to Noble Drew Ali, having allegiance to 1913, opposed to having allegiance to something somebody started in 1980. You know what I mean? Moorish American parties and all this type of stuff. People, you know, trying to make up stuff. Right? Sorry, I cut you off there. What were you gonna say?
Well, no, I was just gonna say I have been in contact with Amir Kamal.
Right.
I've been in contact with him on and off, so
right. Yeah, and you know, I mean, and all those, you know, Great Seal Moors, they're sticklers for the law.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't play those games with, you know, UCCs and all that type of stuff there. They deal with constitutional principles, and, you know, majority of those Moors are Taj students. You know what I mean?
They're sharp.
Yeah, they're sharp. They're super sharp. You know? Yeah.
I have one question though.
Yeah.
Pertaining to the issue of these colorable courts having no jurisdiction, especially for dismissal, what would be the protocol to handle affairs?
Let me try to find something right here quick fast.
No, they're not going to dismiss it.
Right. Well, I mean, just like we were saying, if we take the position of noble, we wouldn't be up in there.
True.
in the first place. You know what I mean? Like nothing would get us up in there if we take the position of just be noble, right? And being noble is, you know, being aware of your surroundings, being aware of what you're doing, what's going on, who's around you. You know what I mean? Because, you know, we get caught up a lot. We get caught up a lot based on the company that we keep.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Majority of the time we're guilty by association. After we get this knowledge, because, you know, friends and, you know, well, that's still my boy, even though he doesn't say that he's a more, and, you know, I don't want to, but, you know, we got to sever ties with people.
Right.
Like, straight up, we got to sever ties with people. You know what I mean? There's brothers who got, you know, they got gats in the back of the stereo and all that type of stuff. You know what I mean? Right? They you know, they're moving ounces, and it's like that has no real, you know, we gotta be mindful of these people. You know, but to answer the question, agent, a person authorized by another to act for him, one entrusted with another's business, one who represents and acts for another under the contract or relation of agency, a business representative whose function is to bring about, modify, affect, accept performance of, or terminate contractual obligations between principal and third persons, one who undertakes to transact some business or to manage some affair for another by the authority and on account of the latter, and to render an account of it, one who acts for or in place of another by authority from him, a substitute, a deputy, appointed by principal with power to do the things which principal may do, one who deals not only with things as does a servant, but with persons, using his own discretion as to means and frequently establishing contractual relations between his principal and third persons. Agent and patient, a phrase indicating the state of a person who is required to do a thing and is at the same time the person to whom it is done, as when a man is indebted to another and he appoints him as executor, and we were talking about earlier, right? Required to pay the debt in his capacity of executor and entitled to receive it in his own right. Diplomatic agent, a person employed by a sovereign to manage his private affairs or those of his subjects in his name at the court of a foreign government. Right? So they might, like, again, the best thing is not to be up in there. Because, you know, like we said, it's a headache when you're dealing with those administrative courts, right? But if you do have to deal with the administrative courts, make sure you always send in your writs, writ of discovery, writ of mandamus, averment of jurisdiction, quo warranto, writ of removal, whatever it is that you have to send in order to put them on the spot when they deal with the matter. And when they're put on the spot, either, you know, they're gonna have to, now, they might not dismiss it on the court floor, but they would call a hearing and pull you outside and then let the prosecutor talk to you, and then they'll settle it out of court. Right?
And we are able to enter a writ at any time, correct?
Right. Anytime. But again, it comes back to the thing of, if you're entering, it depends on the writ. Because if you're entering, for example, a writ of discovery that you want answers, you know, they can use the argument against you that, oh, well, you know, we got disclosure, they didn't give us enough time to answer the writ. Right? Even though they know that they're not going to answer. You know, they know.
In that case, would it just be dismissed?
No, they would
Set
for a further date, so they have time to, right? And again, it comes down to the when you're dealing with the administrative courts, the quasi courts, you know, depends on their dignity. You know what I mean? If they would actually say, you know what, let's go have a in chambers hearing, meeting, and discuss this off the court. You know? And in that hearing, they would dismiss it. You know what I mean? They would go back on the court and the prosecutor would basically take the blow. You know, oh yeah, we were in error of something, you know what I mean? So we suggest that this be dismissed, or we suggest that. It wouldn't be the judge doing it.
and actually inspecting the police report and everything, I already seen it. We all have seen little places where they made their scapegoat, you know, by just putting information wrong or filling it out some type of way that
Right.
be an error.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. Not reading the rights.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah. Right. You know, and if they put it in writing, then it's a right. That's a writ. You know what I mean? If they put it in writing, they're taking the position of letting you know that they're in error. But our response should always be in writing to them. Our response should always be in writing, not only to them, but to all these other people out here who are sitting there waiting to get some writs from some Moors as evidence to do whatever they have to do to assist us.
Okay, so yeah, that's what I'm about to say. With that being said, is there, like, what would be the way about, and I know we talked about it before, but what would be the proper way of going about solidifying our rights within our territory, within our republic, you know, within like the mayor and all of that, or the sheriff, and what's the proper way of doing that?
You can, well, it would be get all your documentation together, right? If you go to the county recorder and you file your documentation, your nationality paperwork, etc., on the county recorder level, if they deny it or they don't want to file it or whatever, then you just put all those people, those individuals on notice with your documentation. Like, that's what we would do out here. So what we did is that we did a uniform disclaimer for everybody, right? So everybody puts their name, everybody gets a copy of this document, read this document. If anything you need to add to it, whatever, add to it, based on your degree of knowledge. Everybody gets a copy, we come back together, we compile a document, we called it Claim of Right, Moorish Americans, Canaanland Moors, whatever, right? Everybody put their name to it, and then we just put everybody on notice with it. You know what I mean? And in putting them on notice with it, it's the same thing, just like a writ. Put a time frame on it, you need to reply. If you don't reply in this time frame, then you're basically agreeing to everything that's in this. You know? And then that's how because we don't have the county recorder here, that's how we went about establishing our position. Right? And then we went and we registered the temple, right, as a religious corporation, not seeking any benefits from them or anything like that, just setting it up so that we have our registration number that we can go around and, you know, if we have to solicit funds or whatever like that, we have a number that we can give people. So they can see that, okay, it's these aren't just some guys that's just, you know, out here trying to do something.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because the Moorish Science Temple of America is a corporation. And it could be treated as such. But keep in mind that the Vatican's a corporation. And look what they're doing with their corporation that they got. And so is U.S, their corporation, and look what they're doing with the corporation that they got. So nothing's wrong with corporations.
So with that, okay, yeah, all right.
You know what I mean? It's how are you? Another more that you can build with is Jelani Bey. Yeah, he's on Facebook too. Yeah, get at Jelani Bey because they go from the perspective of the back of the 101s where it has our authority, and then at the bottom it says see Heard's revised statute. Right? Go check out Heard's revised statute. And when you know that's the religious demonstration of the temple, like how the Vatican or whatever is doing. You know, so there's many different angles to deal with the Moorish movement. You know, but ultimately you have to stick to the principles that were laid down by the Prophet.
That's really all we do anyway.
Yeah. Right? Islam.
With that claim of right package, what else besides the names or the noble titles, what information is also required in that?
So in the claim of right, we had an introduction, just talking about, you know, who we are, what we're doing, you know, similar to when we read the writ of error, right? Just talking about the temple and, you know, quoting some things from the Prophet or whatever like that. There was a section that dealt with the history of Moors in America, that we've been here. This is not anything new that we're starting up. This is something that's already been established. You know, we use Washita references, we use Noble Juali references. There's on Moorish Nation Public Records website, there's a writ that Taj and them sent out for the Moors, that we took excerpts from that and put it in our paperwork. We had the Divine Constitution and Bylaws in there. We had a breakdown of what it is, how we're set up, you know, like the Grand Sheik and Assistant Grand Sheik, what our flag is, what our religion is, what our what our allegiance is, you know, just so they know, just so, you know, show them that we're coming in peace or whatever like that, you know. There was things in there related to a fee schedule for if anybody violated anybody, that they were responsible to they're responsible for whatever remedy that we chose, you know, whether it's to sue them or whatever, and that we're gonna be instituting suits for remedy in gold and silver. You know, we spoke about fiat, and we don't know what fiat is, and you know, that's not really money. And we spoke about how big their debt is, and that they can't try to put their debt on us because, you know, we're indigenous people. So, you know, international, you know, declarations were in there. You know, excerpts of that. We spoke about the temple's position and how the temple is set up in order to uplift fallen humanity, and we have an obligation to make sure that, you know, Noble Drew Ali's message or missionary work is done, because, you know, look at the state of our people and all that type of stuff. We're here to help and whatever. You know, speaking about, you know, we're not trying to have any allegiance with them, but we're not trying to cause conflict with them either. We're trying to build a harmonious relationship by putting you on notice to let you know that, you know, we're not these sovereign citizens and whatever like that. We're Moorish American. You know, check question number blah 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 in 101 questionnaire. We sent copies of the questionnaire, copies of the Circle 7. Sent a picture of Noble Drew Ali. What else was there? That was probably it. That was about it. You know, I mean, and then with everybody's input, you know, we had about a 11, 12 page document by the time we were done. You know, after everybody took it, put in their own volition. You know what I mean?
So, not personal information besides titles?
Any personal information? No. No, the only information was just, it was like a petition. You know, it had the body, and then the last 2 pages or whatever was just, you know, name, you know, manifestation, signature, and then everybody just put their name, signed it, bam bam, and then we just submitted that. You know, but also too, you know, check the vibe with the public record, the county court, the county recorder out there, because, you know, being that you're that far south, they might still have those constitutional outposts that you can use. Whereas places further north, you know, they're stopping Moors from filing stuff. Like, they're straight telling them, you can't file nothing here. You know, which is, you know, if you're, you know, if you peep game, they're telling you handle your own affairs. Really and truly. Because if you have enough knowledge to write a writ, or to write you know, declaration of nationality paperwork, then probably more than likely you don't need county recorder for nothing. You could just do it yourself. You know what I mean? Use script or whatever, or just, you know, you got web designer, set up a website. You know, Moorish Nation Public Records, you know, whatever your republic is. And then you just upload everybody's paperwork to that.
Would there be any type of way that we can send this to you all to get it notarized or something?
I would say I would move more toward using the Moorish Nation Public Records website, because they're established with a site, so you can send your documentation to them, right? Especially with you know, building with Kamal and those people, you know, getting yourself established, because once you're established, you would have your own seals to seal your own documents. You know, you wouldn't necessarily have to go out there to get stuff done. What you would do is, when you're putting the corporations on notice, you also put the Moors that are in allegiance with you on notice of your position. You know what I mean? So like we sent our uniform disclaimer to Chicago Temple. We sent it to RV Bay. You know, we sent it to Moorish American National Government, just to show, you know, allegiance with Moors that are active and Moors that we hold to high honors. You know what I mean? Yeah, yo. Yeah, yo, I think that was about it probably. I don't know if anybody has any more questions or anything like that.
Yeah. Do you know Aline Bay's email or contact information?
Aline.
Because I have some metaphysical questions. I know you probably know some metaphysical things as well. That has to do with universal law as well. You know, I wanted to touch on him one-on-one and see some things.
Okay. Hold on. Actually, I wonder if it's in. No, I'll do. I'll text you his number.
Okay.
So that actually, let me just see if I can find the email at the thing quick fast. The website. 'Cause I know he replies good to his website. So yeah, all right. Yeah, dralimelbay.com. But I'll text you the number as well. And also too, Amor just sent me UCC 1-209, which has to do with being under duress. So that's one to add to the list. UCC 1-209. Yeah, Morris. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Morris. You know what I mean, for standing up and taking some blows for the nation. Sacrifices have to be made, but it's Allah's will is that the sacrifices for the betterment of the whole. You know what I mean? And once we, it's gonna be that in the beginning. You know what I mean? Just starting up, that's what it's gonna be. You know what I'm saying? But once we stay diligent and we keep our communications open, we'll be able to get ourselves established like the Prophet Muhammad wanted to be done. And once that's done, then you know what I mean? Because we can use Moors as reference points. We can use brothers like Jelani Bey as reference, because they've been exercising Moorish nationality, etc. for 10 plus years. We could use Brother Taj, we could use Grand Sheikh Nature and Sister Raz and them, because they've been exercising. You know what I'm saying? Brother Hakeem, there's Moors out there who's been doing this. Also too, if you haven't, Moorish Civil Letter with Brother Abdullah, right? MoorishCivilLetter.net. I know personally he's been on plane using nationality card. You know what I mean? So it's not something far-fetched or whatever. It's just being able to stand up on that birthright. You know what I mean? So these people could see that we're real with it.
Absolutely.
You know, once they see that we're real with it, they'll yield. You know what I mean? They'll yield, most definitely.
Yeah. Like that.
Yeah. Right? So, yeah, yo, with that, we'll close out with the prayer. And once again, you know, Islam to you, Moors, you know, stay diligent. And, you know, we got this. We got this. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Love.
Truth.
Truth.
Peace.
Peace.
Freedom.
Freedom.
And justice.
Justice.
Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation.
Salvation.
By night
Night.
and by day,
Day.
to His holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali.
Ali.
Islam, Islam, Islam.
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 Peace and love, Moors.
Peace. Peace.
Stay strong, yo. Stay strong. And you know, you already know this will be up. This will be up soon.
Alright.
And we'll connect. We'll connect on the next one.
Now.
All right.
So.
Islam.